Welcome to My Irish Radio Music and Culture News, your connection to everything happening in the world of Irish music and culture. I'm Jamie Flanagan. Each episode will share the latest news from Ireland's vibrant music scene, from traditional and folk to rebel ballads, pub tunes, Celtic rock, and today's top Irish pop. We'll also bring you updates on festivals, cultural events, and people keeping Irish heritage alive around the world. And remember, My Irish Radio is more than just a station. It's your community, your soundtrack, your voice. You can listen 24/7 at myirishradio.com and through the links in the podcast description below. Here's the best part. You can be part of it. Host your very own show on My Irish Radio. Choose your playlist, share your stories, make My Irish Radio your Irish Radio. Let's get into what's happening this week in Irish music and culture.
Usually, when we think of international diplomacy, there is a very specific aesthetic that comes to mind.
Oh, absolutely.
You picture the boardrooms, right? The tailored suits, the briefcases, those incredibly serious handshakes happening over, like, highly polished mahogany tables.
Yeah, the quiet, rigid mechanics of statecraft. Treaties being drafted in these air-conditioned rooms, totally far removed from the actual pulse of the public.
Exactly. But if you look at what is happening in Ireland right now in the summer of 2026, that mahogany boardroom table is completely gone.
It really is.
It has been replaced by, like, a muddy festival field in Stradbally, a blistering punk rock concert in a club, and a colossal 20,000-seat arena being proposed in the Dublin Docklands. Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
Today, we are unpacking a fascinating stack of sources, mostly centered around recent excerpts from the Emerald Isle Dispatches, Irish Music and Cultural Horizons radio broadcast.
Which is just a wealth of information.
It really is. And our mission today is to figure out how a loud, wildly vibrant local music scene is actively being weaponized as a multi-million euro tool for European diplomacy.
Weaponized in the best way possible, of course.
Right. Because you want to stay thoroughly informed without the overwhelm, we are doing the heavy lifting to connect the dots between, a local gig and high-stakes geopolitics.
It completely upends the traditional idea of how a nation introduces itself to the world. I mean, we are looking at a masterclass in how you balance authentic grassroots local art with large-scale strategic cultural export.
Yeah, that tension.
Exactly. That tension between the neighborhood pub gig and the international stage is the core theme we are analyzing today.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the sheer volume of live music happening in Ireland right now is staggering. Just staggering.
Right. It's nonstop.
If you look at the headlining concerts and festivals alone, the Trinity College Summer Series is currently in full swing, bringing acts like Wet Leg and Glenn Hansard right into the historic heart of Dublin.
Right into the city center, yeah.
Meanwhile, over at the modern Indoor 3 Arena, you have London artist Lily Allen playing 2 massive nights.
That's to showcase her acclaimed West End Girl album, right?
Yes, exactly. Right. And we are already seeing organizers gearing up for September, revealing the Salty Dog stage lineup and the return of Berlin House for the Electric Picnic Festival in Stradbally.
Which is a massive amount of physical and economic activity. You have the historic collegiate setting of Trinity, the high-gloss commercial environment of the 3 Arena, and then the sprawling, muddy, chaotic energy of the outdoor festival in Stradbally.
It's all happening at once. And looking at these sources, it made me think about how this whole ecosystem actually functions. Honestly, it operates a lot like a highly effective minor to major league sports pipeline.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Think about how baseball or football works. You have the local scouts, the minor leagues, and then eventually the major stadium franchises. Music is operating on that exact same trajectory here.
It starts from the ground up.
Right. It starts with curation and discovery. For example, the sources highlight the Nealer 9 playlist, which just added fresh releases from artists like Jazzy, The Scratch, Jean Ducrot, and Bronny. That playlist acts as the ultimate scout.
What's fascinating here is how algorithmic that scouting has become. Getting placed on a highly curated list like Nealer 9 isn't just a vanity metric for these artists anymore.
No, not at all.
It is a mechanical trigger. It alerts the data scraping tools used by mid-level promoters and festival bookers. They actively monitor the streaming velocity of those tracks.
So it's all about the data spike.
Precisely. Jazzy or The Scratch get added to the playlist, their local listening data spikes, and suddenly they mathematically justify a booking at a 500 capacity club.
Which then creates the momentum to graduate to a mid-sized venue. And if you sell that out, you are suddenly on the radar for something like the Trinity College Summer Series, or you are getting an afternoon slot on the Salty Dog stage at Electric Picnic. The pipeline actively feeds itself.
It does. But a pipeline is only as good as the diversity of what flows through it. A healthy cultural ecosystem requires biodiversity.
Right.
If it just pumps out homogeneous commercial pop music, it eventually collapses, much like a monoculture in agriculture. And we're seeing that critical biodiversity in the Irish scene right now. The sources specifically highlight that Meryl Streep just announced his third album, Stories They Don't Teach You at School.
A phenomenal title, first of all.
Oh, absolutely. And a phenomenal project. Crucially, this album features an upcoming single with Steve Ignart of Crass.
Wait, Crass?
Yes. For anyone familiar with music history, Crass is the absolute bedrock of the anarcho-punk scene.
That's huge.
So you have deeply subversive, politically charged, anti-establishment art thriving and releasing highly anticipated third albums right alongside the massive mainstream success of Lily Allen with those big festival headliners.
That structural resilience is impressive. But I have to throw a wrench into this. You have this incredibly efficient, biodiverse pipeline pumping out talent from pop to traditional to anarcho-punk. But where do you put them?
All right, the venues.
Yeah, a pipeline is useless if it bursts at the end because the storage tank isn't big enough. You can't put a stadium-level artist in a 500-person pub and expect the economics to work.
Which brings us directly to the physical infrastructure. The spaces have to scale to match the cultural output.
And they are trying to scale aggressively. The sources point to a colossal new proposal from Live Nation. They want to build a new 20,000 capacity indoor venue in the Docklands area of Dublin.
That's massive.
We are talking about a massive corporate undertaking. But at the exact same time, you have the Grassroots Ireland Music Week 2026 announcing its initial fall lineup, focusing specifically on 50 emerging artists.
The contrast there is stark.
Yeah, and on a totally different wavelength, you have the Kaleidoscope Festival returning to the historic Rusborough House in Co-Wicklow, which is Ireland's largest family summer event.
3 drastically different visions of live entertainment, essentially competing for space and attention in the same country.
I am going to push back hard on this Live Nation proposal, though. Does dropping a massive corporate 20,000-seat arena into the Dublin Docklands threaten to pave over the grassroots scene?
It's a valid concern.
I mean, 50 emerging artists playing small venues at Ireland Music Week is the actual heartbeat of the culture. When you build something that massive, I think of it like the canopy and the underbrush in a rainforest. Does a 20,000-seat canopy block the sun for the emerging artists?
Right.
Because history shows us that corporate arenas often price out local talent, raise the rent in the surrounding neighborhoods, and frankly, funnel the profits out of the country. Does that capital actually trickle down to the grassroots, or does it just line the pockets of the corporate promoter?
It is a very valid skepticism, especially regarding gentrification and corporate consolidation. The instinct is to assume the canopy starves the underbrush. But if we analyze the macroeconomic mechanics of a city's cultural infrastructure, the underbrush actually relies on the canopy to create the microclimate it needs to survive.
Let's test that theory. Walk me through the actual mechanism. How does a 20,000-seat arena practically benefit a 50-artist indie festival?
It comes down to establishing an industrial baseline. A 20,000-seat arena in the Docklands acts as a massive economic anchor. It draws major international touring acts that simply would not come to Ireland otherwise because the routing wouldn't make financial sense.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
When those acts arrive, they bring an influx of international capital tourism, hotel bookings, restaurant revenue. But more importantly, they necessitate a specialized local workforce. You need hundreds of riggers, lighting technicians, sound engineers, and security personnel.
So the corporate arena is essentially funding the training and employment of the local crew.
Precisely. And those same technicians, who make their primary living working the massive Live Nation gigs, are the ones taking a pay cut on their days off to run the soundboard for the emerging artists at Ireland Music Week.
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that.
Without the financial anchor of the mega venue, that skilled labor pool leaves the city or the industry entirely. Furthermore, an arena of that size forces the city government to upgrade its civic infrastructure. It demands better late-night public transport, updated zoning laws for noise, and increased security, all of which drastically benefits the small 500-capacity clubs operating in the same ecosystem.
It lifts the whole boat.
Right. The arena validates the city as a global music hub, making arts councils far more willing to subsidize grassroots events because they see a scalable ladder.
So the family pitching a tent at Kaleidoscope in Wicklow is benefiting from the civic upgrades forced by the arena in the Docklands. I see the logic.
Yeah.
But this massive scale-up in infrastructure, building a 20,000-seat arena, optimizing this pipeline, it isn't just about selling local tickets or boosting Dublin's hotel economy, is it? It feels like they're building a launch pad.
They absolutely are. And this is the pivot point.
You're listening to My Irish Music and Culture News, brought to you by My Irish Radio, streaming the best in Irish and Celtic music all day, every day. From classic jigs and reels to the latest Irish rock and pub favorites, we celebrate the sound of Ireland worldwide. Want to be more than a listener? Be a host. Share your love for the Irish music by hosting your own show on My Irish Radio. It's easy to get started. Just send us an email, myirishradio@gmail.com. Don't forget, you can listen 24/7 at myirishradio.com. Make My Irish Radio your Irish Radio.
Ireland isn't just building these stages and developing these artists for domestic consumption. They are preparing to project this cultivated identity outward.
Which brings us to the most significant cultural headline from the Emerald Isle Dispatches, and honestly, the element that shifts this entire conversation from entertainment into geopolitics.
The big reveal.
Yes, we are looking at the kickoff of Culture 2026. The sources lay this out very clearly. This is an expansive 5 million culture program running straight through December 2026. And its sole purpose is to celebrate Ireland's incoming presidency of the Council of the European Union.
A 5 million cultural budget specifically tied to a political presidency is a massive commitment.
Oh, yeah. And the specifics are what caught my eye. The initiative includes over 25 Irish-focused events taking place specifically in Belgium, alongside national presentations across Ireland. And it features a highly targeted focus on the Irish language.
And it spreads out from there.
Exactly. The international push doesn't stop in Brussels. Limerick City just launched its own EU presidency initiative, kicking off a 6-month cultural, academic, and economic partnership with Germany, complete with symbolic flag-raising events at City Hall.
We also see Culture Ireland dramatically stepping up their global exposure efforts in tandem with this.
Yes. They just announced new international showcases, specifically sending traditional Irish artists to Hungary for the classical.nxt music conference.
To Hungary?
Right. So you have Belgium, Germany, and Hungary all receiving targeted government-backed Irish cultural exports at the exact same time. Here's where it gets really interesting for me, though. We are looking at a 5 million state investment. We have artists being flown to Hungary and flags being raised at City Hall in Limerick. I have to ask, where does the art end and where does government public relations begin? Are these artists just becoming highly effective, well-paid billboards for the state?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what we're really dissecting here is a highly aggressive, sophisticated application of soft power.
This is a classic soft power play, right?
Yeah.
But it feels much more calculated than just sending a dance troupe abroad for a cultural exchange.
It is entirely calculated. Soft power isn't just about being liked. It is about creating an environment where your political goals are easier to achieve because the other party already feels an affinity towards you.
Right.
Think about the geopolitical reality of the European Union. Ireland is taking on the presidency of the Council. Geographically and by population, Ireland is a smaller nation compared to heavyweights like Germany, France, or Italy.
They can't throw their weight around in the same way.
Exactly. When it comes to hard economic leverage or military weight, they are at a disadvantage. But culturally, Ireland is a heavyweight. By pouring $5 million into Culture 2026, they are strategically deploying their greatest asset to punch far above their geographic weight going into these presidency negotiations.
Okay, let's drill down into the psychology of that. How does sending traditional artists to Hungary or prioritizing the Irish language in Belgium actually help an Irish diplomat negotiate a better trade deal or a new tech regulation?
It establishes a baseline of shared cultural vocabulary, which acts as a lubricant in high-stakes environments. When diplomats sit down in a boardroom in Brussels to debate incredibly contentious policies, maybe agricultural subsidies or data privacy laws, the friction is immediate.
Oh, for sure. High stress.
Right. But if the delegates from Germany or Belgium have spent the last 6 months attending Irish cultural events, listening to the Irish language, or participating in the Limerick Academic Partnership, it changes the psychological dynamic in that boardroom.
It humanizes the negotiator across the table.
Exactly. It creates back channels and networks of trust. You are no longer just negotiating with a representative of a distant island. You are negotiating with a country whose music you just experienced, whose art you just analyzed in a gallery.
Yeah.
It makes early deadlocks in policy negotiations far less likely because there is a pre-existing emotional resonance. When Limerick partners with Germany, they aren't just putting on concerts. They're intertwining their civic identities.
It's essentially using art to bypass the intellectual defenses of the diplomats. It is brilliant, but it only works if the art is actually good.
Which loops us perfectly back to our first point. The only reason Culture 2026 can be effective as a diplomatic weapon is because of that messy, biodiverse, local ecosystem.
Pipeline.
Yes. You cannot export culture if you aren't cultivating it at home.
Yeah.
The government can allocate $5 million, but they can't magically conjure world-class traditional artists to send to Hungary. They rely on the Nylar 9 playlist, the 50 emerging artists struggling at Ireland Music Week, and the subversive punk of Meryl Streep to act as the raw material for this diplomatic engine.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Why should you care about a proposed corporate arena in the Docklands or a $5 million cultural budget for the EU presidency? It means recognizing that the culture you consume does not exist in a vacuum.
It's all connected.
Understanding these sources reveals a hidden architecture. That Friday night gig you attend in Dublin, or the afternoon you spend at the Kaleidoscope Festival, is actually the foundational layer of a massive international strategy. The local artists you stream are actively being developed to project a nation's identity and secure its political interests across the globe. Whether you realize it or not, you are participating in the mechanics of soft power.
And that interconnected architecture leaves us with a lingering, slightly provocative question to ponder. We've spent this time analyzing how Ireland is heavily exporting its culture to Europe, sending artists to Hungary, integrating language in Belgium, partnering with Germany.
Right.
But cultural exchange is never a one-way street. If this massive influx of cross-continental collaboration happens throughout 2026, how might it eventually create a reverse effect? Will the next wave of traditional Irish artists who emerge from that local pipeline sound vastly different?
That's a great point.
If they are spending their formative years being paid to play stages in Brussels and Berlin, will they inevitably absorb those European influences? In aggressively exporting their culture to secure diplomatic leverage today, Ireland might just be inviting the rest of Europe to rewrite its future sound tomorrow.
That is a fascinating thought to leave on. The music scene is going to be incredibly interesting to watch as we head into 2027. We started this deep dive talking about how diplomacy is usually confined to shiny mahogany boardrooms. But as the sources have shown us, the most effective diplomacy happening right now might just be vibrating out of the speakers in a muddy festival field or being built into the blueprints of a 20,000-seat arena. We hope we've helped you unpack the incredible mechanics operating behind the music and the statecraft. Keep questioning what you listen to, keep exploring, and we'll catch you on the next one.
That's it for this episode of My Irish Radio, Music and Culture News. Thanks for joining us. And remember, you can hear the best in Irish and Celtic music 24 hours a day at myirishradio.com. If you ever dreamed of sharing your favorite tunes and stories, now's your chance. Become one of the hosts. Host your own show right here on My Irish Radio. Just send us an email. It's easy as that. myirishradio@gmail.com. Until next time, it's Jamie Flanagan. Keep the music playing and keep Ireland in your heart.